Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and boy am I so happy, elated, ecstatic that Twitter has heroically announced that they are going to save democracy globally, okay, and make sure that our democracy is going up, up, and away. They're the best, that Twitter. Big tech. In collusion with big government. Great stuff. Trojan horse, civilian systems. And what I really love about it is when we read this, that's what we're going to do. We're going to read this whole thing. They treat you like a child. That's what I really like. I like when I am demeaned and degraded and it's made out that I can't tell what a meme is, for instance, or I can't decide what misleading information might be. The funny thing is, when they talk about censoring this misleading information, they tell you that it's going to include false information. You know what that also means? Oh, it's going to include truthful information as well. And we've already seen massive censorship via big tech. We've all seen the fact checks, which Twitter might be the worst on the fact checks. They are some of the most ridiculous things, and we've played them on the show. From Russian disinformation with the laptop to the COVID 1984 nightmare. Let's just say that Twitter hasn't been the best with their authoritative sources and fact checks. And now they're telling you that you won't even be able to like certain tweets, retweet certain people, etc. Just not going to happen. And by the way, the algorithm already is such that some of the main people that years ago would come up in my feed, I'd retweet them all the time. Joe Rogan specifically. I'm sure he still has a massive audience, but if you don't think that audience would be much bigger, you're not following what's going on. I never see him in my feed. I got unfollowed from James Woods back in the day. I still refollowed him. I never see him in my feed anymore. There are so many people out there that I just never see in the feed. And honestly, without a big retweet, I have 33,000. My reach has been truncated from the very beginning. You will never see a Jason Bermas blue check mark unless somehow I get hired by one of these authoritative sources. And I don't think that's coming anytime soon. But Jason, you say, why do you care? The election system, the two-party system, it's really a uniparty. And that's why before we do this, before we kick off the entire way down, and maybe I'm going to get to some of your live chat later on. It really depends on where we go from here. I mean, we're in a situation now where I can be a few minutes deep in a video. We got 50 people watching. We got 50 people watching out of 67,000 plus. I mean, they just ranked that algorithm all the way down. So for those that are watching, before we read how Twitter is going to save democracy, and they talk about civics, which is a joke. When was the last time you saw a middle or a high school having a civics lesson, a real one? They were like non-existent. The last time I would say even myself had civics was in grade school, and ironically, during the Dukakis and Bush election, which is kind of being discussed in this clip we're going to play. It's going to let you know that fake news, been around for a long time, uniparty, been a long time. Agreements a long time. He says it really eloquently. Some things have changed a little bit. I mean, the left has gone so over the top, right? But in a true civics lesson, let me give you an example. Like through the 3rd to 5th grade, one of the things that they did, and shout out to Evans Elementary, we're going to shout them out because they did this, is a few times a year, you would get a story. You would have to take a side. You'd have to left or right, or, abortion was a topic then, all these different things. And you would have to study that. And then you'd actually have to debate point by point against other students. Kind of a really good civics lesson, debate lesson. That is gone. They don't want critical thinking. They don't want the devil's advocate when the devil's advocate promotes what? Rugged individualism or questioning authority. So let's play this clip here. Again, really interesting clip. And it's talking about the A and the B squad and really the military-industrial complex, a.k.a. deep state.
In the meantime, this establishment, this party that we have the single-party state, this fraternity that runs this country that has two chapters, a Republican and a Democrat, one a little bit more liberal than the other one more conservative, representing the big business interests more directly. That's the Republicans. In terms of their interests, that's the A team. But they always have the B team that they can run out. Jimmy Carter, when Richard Nixon makes the nation too angry, or the nation gets too riled at the Vietnam War or something like that. This is where they produced Michael Dukakis. He's a team player to the establishment. In order to be accepted as a presidential candidate, he did homage to the arms race. He said eventually that he would give humanitarian aid to the Contras. He would consider it. He said definitely he would give military aid to El Salvador, which means he bought into all the principles of the covert secret government, of the covert operations, of the covert manipulation of the world.
Think about that. He's talking about Iran-Contra, and he's saying, look, this guy didn't get as far as he did unless he was a team player. And what I really like here is basically they start to talk about how they don't have to roll out things necessarily until there is a public outcry. And then they try to give you this false choice constantly. We see it time and time again.
He was singing another song when he was trying to get the Democratic nomination.
That's right. Before, his background was progressive, but he bought in, they screened him into the system. They groomed him into the system. He was advised that he could run, but if he would... So what he was there is, if the nation had clung, its outrage had been sufficient over the Iran-Contra scandal, they had Dukakis standing by, the B team to their interests. And he would give them some grief by spending some money on housing and on medical insurance for people and things like that, which is not their choice of the way to invest the money. They want to invest it in missiles and things where they make greater profits. But he would support the arms race, and he would support the CIA and the covert establishment, the national security state's activities. But then they realized they did not have to go with the B team.
Think about that. Didn't have to go with them. And I think that's a lot. I mean, even with Trump, okay, let's go back to 2016. I honestly believe that they thought they had the tools to get Hillary Clinton in there. I think he was somewhat of a surprise. But aside from the fact that you have all these ways they tried to remove him with the impeachments, and even right now with this latest raid, we now know there are new documents out there. Surprise, surprise, that the Justice Department was already in contact with the archives all the way back in April, and the FBI and the Department of Justice. Of course they were. This came from on top. But once Trump got in there, look who he was surrounded by. You know, people like Sheldon Adelson, who had donated to that campaign. They love a Mike Pompeo. They can't get enough of a Bill Barr or a Mattis. They got the guy out they didn't like. I was Flynn. Love him or hate him. He got removed, period. Even Bannon, love him or hate him. They didn't like him. They got him out of there, all right? So, there were some rumblings with Trump, but did he shake the hand on that arms deal with Saudi Arabia? You bet your ass he did. You bet your ass he did. But then you get to 2020, and all of a sudden, you've got new rules. And now in 2022, Twitter is joyously coming to the rescue. So let's read it, guys. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Here we go. Twitter is the place to find real-time, reliable information about the 2022 midterms. Reliable, just like reliable sources and Brian Stelter. Whether you're looking for breaking news from reporters, information on voting, or policy positions from candidates, we aim to enable healthy civic conversation on Twitter. No, you don't. This is a joke. While ensuring people have the context they need to make informed decisions about content they encounter. Because we're a global service, there's almost always an election happening on Twitter. Oh, you're global. They're globalist. Okay? They're as new world order as it gets. And they're talking to you like you're an invalidic child. Today, we're announcing steps that we're taking ahead of the U.S. midterms to protect civic conversations on Twitter. And, they talk about whether or not the account actually, is a real one. There are so many bot accounts. The vast majority of the people pushing the authoritarian insanity that the left has now just gone just full force with. Again, not really a left or right issue, but they go full force with the most absurd absurdities of absurd, and then they kind of paint that the Republicans are going to be your friend. They're not, all right? They don't care that I'd say probably 60 to 80% of those accounts, if not more, are bot accounts and sometimes a part of signature reduction. The military program that's been outed over a year ago, nobody seems to talk about. Just want to point that out there, okay? Finally, Jimmy Dore talked about it. Good for you, buddy. As a key part of the Twitter rules since 2018, our civic integrity policy has helped people find credible information during elections and other civic processes, including in the Philippines, Kenya, Australia, Brazil, and India just this year. Oh, bravo, Twitter. Bravo. Today, as we do ahead of other global elections, we're activating enforcement of our civic integrity policy for the 2022 U.S. midterms. And this just means mass algorithm changes, mass censorship, massive fraud. Okay, that's what this means. The civic integrity policy covers the most common types of harmful, misleading information about elections and civic events. See, it's not just elections. You get that? It's not just elections. This is everything. It's just like now with the Shady Hook lawsuit and the talking heads like championing the InfoWars is going to be gone. What are they bringing up a lot now? 9/11 truth. 9/11 truth. And if we had done our jobs as an informed citizenry after the 9/11 event, and really after the Iran-Contra scenario that he's talking about, all right, that's when people should have got really upset that they saw what was going on. It still hadn't hit them yet. The 80s were booming for the economy. There's a president a lot of people liked in there, Reagan. And there was a demon, George H.W. Bush, behind him. A demon. Like, if demons walk the earth, they walk around in skin suits like that. Just saying. Just pointing that out. Okay? The civic integrity policy covers the most we already did that. What do we do here? Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Common types of harmful, misleading information about elections and civic events, such as claims about how to participate in a civic process, like how to vote. Misleading content intended to intimidate or dissuade people from participating in the election. And misleading claims intended to undermine public confidence in an election. In other words, you can't question anything. Our narrative is the great narrative, Hail Klaus Nutschwab, including false information. See, it has to include, if it includes false, that means it includes truthful information, by the way. Notice how they put that? Including false information about the outcome of the election. Can't question elections. Tweets with this context may be labeled with links to credible information or helpful context. Yep, the fact checks. And Twitter will not recommend or amplify this content in areas of the product where Twitter makes recommendations. No. People on Twitter will see a prompt prior to liking or sharing labeled tweets. And in cases where there is potential for harm associated with the false or misleading claim. Oh, so it doesn't necessarily have to be false. The tweet may not be liked or shared to prevent the spread of that misleading information. They're just out and out telling you, we love censorship. We can't wait to censor you. They love it. Thank you, Twitter. Fake accounts that misrepresent affiliations to a candidate or elected office are prohibited under our existing misleading and deceptive identities policy. And we remain vigilant against potential coordinated manipulation efforts. And during this election period and year-round, we continue to enforce our safety policies, including for conduct targeting election workers. That's a whole word salad of Johnny nonsense right here. Once again, they don't take down the bot accounts at all. They constantly amplify the bot accounts and the bot-like messages. It's their gig. Redesign labels. Last year, we tested new misleading information labels and saw promising results. The new labels increased click-through rates by 17%, meaning more people were clicking labels to read debunked content. Oh, the debunk. Remember I've told you that those original debunkers out there that were there to debunk 9/11 truth, now they're the fact checkers, and now it's everything. Man, I wish people listened when 9/11 was going on. We had some real momentum around the 5th anniversary of 9/11. Real momentum. And a lot of people just became cowards. Cowards or hopium addicts. I don't know what happened. Maybe a mix of both. But here we are. Here we are. I mean, they're bragging in front of your face that they're the arbiters of truth. We also saw notable decreases in engagement with tweets labeled with the new design. 13% less in replies, 10% less in retweets, and 15% less in likes. Okay. Finding reliable information. Oh, well, thank you, Twitter. Twitter wants to empower voters to find reliable information about how to register, how to vote, and the choices on their ballot. To make it easier to find reliable news and accurate information about participating in the civic process, we're launching a number of product updates. Hurrah! Hurrah! By the way, guys, 100 plus watching. Can we get the thumbs up? I'm sorry that this is so cartoonish, but we're about to get into pre-bunks, right? Not debunks, pre-bunks. And once again, if you're familiar with people like Whitney Webb, she warned you that pre-crime was on the agenda during the Trump administration with great guys in the Justice Department, just like Bill Barr, and pre-crime was a-coming. And now the pre-bunks are here. Here's what you can expect to see on Twitter as Election Day approaches in the U.S. Pre-bunks. Oh, it's wild, but we'll just read it. In the lead up to an election, we'll share prompts with information about how and where to vote directly to people's timelines. Well, thank you. Wow. Because the people that were ready to vote and ready to get out there, I'm sure they didn't know where to go. We're also bringing back pre-bunks in English, Spanish, and all other languages supported on Twitter to get ahead of misleading narratives on Twitter and to proactively address topics that may be the subject of misinformation. So now, any topic we want that might be the subject of a misleading narrative. Well, thank you. Thank you for this proactive measure to address topics that could be the subject of misinformation. I mean, my God. Over the coming months, we'll place prompts directly on people's timelines in the U.S. and in search when you type related terms, phrases, or hashtags. Oh, wow. State-specific event hubs. We've begun rolling out state-specific event hubs as primaries take place across the country. These localized pages feature real-time election information from state election officials, plus local news outlets and journalists. Soon we'll roll out additional nationally focused event pages available for everyone in the U.S. Dedicated Explore tab. Oh, thank you so much. As elections take place around the world, Twitter often serves as the centralized hub for real-time political conversation. See how they're putting out, we're the centralized hub. We're the authoritative source. For political conversation, resources, and breaking news, we'll be launching a dedicated Explore tab that will include national news in both English and Spanish by reputable news outlets, curated by Twitter's curation team. I like how they put curate twice in there just to let you know. We decide that MSNBC and CNN and ABC and CBS and, yes, Fox News, they are the arbiters of truth. We'll curate any information that goes against any of the main narratives that are out there. Localized news and resources by state. Voter education public service announcements in English and Spanish. Created using information from nonpartisan government and voting advocacy organizations. I want to laugh out loud there. It's cartoony. It's cartoony. Identifying who's running for office, because you're so damned involved in politics and care so much about our democracy, right, that you don't know what candidate you're voting for or who they're running against. Our candidate account label makes it easier to identify who's running for office. We began rolling out these labels in May as primary elections kicked off full swing. And you'll continue to see these labels until the end of the general election. These labels, again, they talk to you like you're a child. They appear on designated candidate accounts for those running for U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, or governor who've qualified for the general election ballot. Well, thank you. Now, here's the deal once again. We already know these people because they're part of the state elections that these people are voting for. They already have, if you're looking at them, they have a blue check mark already. You know what state they're in. And I would imagine that their Twitter feed is filled with things about how they're running for office. But thanks again, Twitter. Thank you so much. That contain critical candidate information, including the office of the candidate is running for, the state office is located, and the district number for U.S. House candidate. Well, thanks again. Appear at the top of the candidate's profile page and on all of their tweets. Look at that. Governor candidate. Wow. Thank you. It's like we're in Sesame Street land. Improving recommendations. We've also made and continue to make updates to how and what we recommend on Twitter. Earlier this year, in the U.S. and Brazil, we tested ways to prevent misleading tweets from being recommended through notifications. Early results show that impressions on misleading information dropped by 1.6 million per month as a direct result of the experiment. Probably much more. And again, here they're just bragging about censorship. They're just, they're telling you how much they love censorship, unabashedly. We've seen applied this intervention and notification recommendations on Twitter and are exploring possibilities for other surfaces on Twitter. Well, thank you so much again. Protecting accounts. Again, total bullshit. They let bot accounts fly on Twitter like you wouldn't believe. You know, and I'm not trying to make a hero out of Musk, but if you don't, again, understand that 60, maybe 80% of the Twitter accounts out there that are promoting the most egregious Johnny nonsense you can imagine, some of these things are a decade plus old. They are bots. Believe that. And some of them are part of the military program known as signature reduction. Okay? Just want to point that out there. Oh, we're helping to protect and secure accounts of government officials, candidates of office, journalists, and more ahead of the midterms, right? Yeah, just like when Anthony Weiner said that his Twitter account got hacked. Remember that weirdness? Yeah, they're going to protect. And have you ever noticed that whenever a candidate or celebrity says they got hacked, unless it was part of like that fappening thing or something, that's just nonsense. Whenever it's their actual account all of a sudden posting crazy stuff, it's not what happened. You're just a crazy person posting crazy stuff. In the case of Anthony Weiner, you know, a sexual predator that by anyone's definition is also a pedophile who's got his own talk show again, his own podcast. No big deal. I mean, I'm sure that Anthony Weiner is going to be allowed on Twitter, right? They'll protect his account. Accounts will be reminded to use a strong password, encouraged to enable two-factor authentication, and asked to check third-party apps they've connected to their accounts. We will enable password reset protection for accounts by default to help prevent unauthorized password changes. They needed to include, no, they wanted to talk to you like a kid. In the coming weeks, we'll apply additional proactive safeguards for these accounts, including more sophisticated detections and alerts to help us and account holders respond rapidly to suspicious activity. What they're really telling you is they're getting ready to censor a bunch of legitimate accounts saying that there was unusual activity, especially when they're sharing information that they don't like, that they're about to label misleading. Increased login defenses to prevent malicious account takeover attempts. Expedited account recovery support to ensure account security issues are resolved quickly. Because so many actual, government accounts and people running for office, they're constantly getting hacked. Twitter plays a critical role in empowering democratic conversations, facilitating meaningful political debate, and providing information on civic participation, not only in the U.S., but around the world. People deserve to trust the election conversations and content they encounter on Twitter, because more censorship means they'll trust it more. We're exploring other ways to help people make sense of the content they encounter during these critical times. Keep an eye out on Twitter Safety for media literacy tips. Oh, the good people at Twitter Safety. They're going to teach me media literacy. And suggestions like how to spot misinformation which were developed in partnership with educational experts. Remember, they already tell you that things like BitChute are a harmful site. Good for the Epic Times. They were trying to label them a harmful site. They were able to overcome that. It's very rare that you're able to overcome those things. Alex Berenson beat them in court. I mean, these people are a joke. The features and tools outlined above, in combination with continued enforcement of the Twitter rules, help make this possible. As Election Day nears, we'll continue to share real-time information about our approach. I don't. You know what? I'm not reading the last one. I mean, it's just like the perfect, like, terrible corporate Johnny Nonsense sign off. All right. So here's the deal, guys. This is what we're gonna do. I'm going to go to your comments and questions really briefly. I guess we'll go down the line, bullet style. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. I do want to remind everybody, if you want to support the broadcast, you can buy me a coffee down below, $5, $10, $15. It absolutely means the world to me. Please check out the documentary film, Shade the Motion Picture, Invisible Empire, New World Order Defined, Fabled Enemies, Loose Change Final Cut, and more. Remember, we are over on Rockfin and Rumble, completely uncensored, but we've been fully demonetized for 3 years now over on YouTube. And talk about the algorithm not helping anybody out. YouTube, Twitter, different heads on the same beast, everybody. That's all I can say about that. All right, let's go down. Hail Twitter. Hail Twitter. Let's see. To save them by stealing them. Yay. Yay, theocracy. Give it what you got. Hey, Jason, how we doing, Flick? Always good to see you in there. Good to see you too, Mr. Telford. What's a Twizzler? I don't know. Believe all fact checkers. Yes. Honestly, if I had merch, forget about the fact check stuff. I would have a Believe in Blinkers shirt. Where I was staying out in Virginia, out in Stafford, Virginia, just people do not believe in blinkers anywhere. It's unbelievable. It's like, hey, how about the common courtesy to let me know which side you run? I thought it was kind of bad where I am here in Iowa. Obviously, New York can be really bad, but at the same time, like, I was in a lot of upstate New York traffic. They believe in blinkers there. So believe in blinkers. Hashtag Bermas Brigade. Save a life. Only social media I have is YouTube, I guess. Does Twitter censure? The illusion of choice indeed, my friend. The illusion of choice. All hail the Borg. Assimilation is imminent. Yay. Hey, how we doing, RC? Twitter just seems to be botted up to stoke fights between all groups. I mean, they are pretty botted up. I can't get high enough to make any sense out of anything, damn it. Well, I'm sorry, John. I almost made it on time. Only one rule. You do not talk about Fight Club. I'm glad you called it Twizzler. Add scotch. John, it helps. Thanks, Tyler. Let's see. Working hard today. I'm trying. I should be putting, I'm going to put up, I think, on my Rockfin and Rumble channel. I did render it out. My appearance on the Union of the Unwanted last night. I only got to ask one question, and I left it after like 90 minutes. It's pretty thick, but if you want to hear Dr. Richard Freeman and briefly Dr. Peter McCullough speak, you can definitely check that up. So we're going to try to get that upload tonight as well. That's like 90 minutes long. Breaking news, everybody lies. All these platforms want to be moral dictators. Well, they're immoral dictators, just like we have an injustice system, like we have a uniparty. How about we get to choose what we're exposed to? How about that? Breaking news, the International Order of Bryans and Bryans have all voted and have indeed revoked Stelter's B. It is now the Ryans problem. It's a good gig. I like that. That's a good joke right there. That's funny stuff. Abandon Twitter. Sig int. I don't know what that is. LOL, a guy accused me of having half a Brian and only having 2 Brian cells. That blue unicorn, that's not a bad follow-up. Signal's intelligence is just virtue signaling. I feel like big accounts are being paid to post weird propaganda tweets too. Oh, 100%. 100%. Genius. Twitter finally banned me in 2019. Never even missed it. And when they got their old reptilian starts showing. I just finished season 1 of Inside Job, the Netflix animated show. I may do a whole show about that. There's a whole reptoid show. There's a whole episode of the reptilians. The show is interesting. It's I'm going to save my review, but overall I enjoyed it. I think it was the last episode. Yeah, the final episode, they did a funny 9/11 joke, which, you know, all of it's a joke, but you can tell that the person that created it, who apparently worked on a ton of other things, including Gravity Falls, they definitely know at least conspiracy lore or hired people around that for sure. That's all I can say. I can say I've never had a Twitter. I had a MySpace, though. I miss the old MySpace. When Chomsky and Kissinger agree in foreign policy, shit is effed up. Yeah, it is. It's crazy that right now in foreign policy, Henry Kissinger is the only one that seems to be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't start World War III. I wouldn't have expected Kissinger to say such things even at 99 years young. I really wouldn't have. But hey, here we are. And no one seems to be talking about the right-hand man of Putin having his daughter killed. RT has shown that they believe it's a Ukrainian assassin. We got film and everything, of this person coming in and out. I just, do we not understand that this is really going on and this proxy war could spill over to repercussions that Americans can't understand, because we never really had any repercussions other than propaganda and black ops via the Cold War. You know, real conflict's a different thing. Okay? Just want to point that out. And I saw some people like praising it. First of all, 35-year-old woman is dead. That alone made me turn my stomach. Twitter is part of the state. It is not a private company. MySpace was real. I miss wholesome loneliness. Top 5s and 10s. A playlist. Although I'm not bumping fabulous. Not fabulous. I could use a hit of opium. Been on a steady diet of black pills. It was a weird time. Bad hip-hop was actually better. He's talking about that 2005, 2006 range. Misleading labels can be fun, like making new labels from soup cans that have less ass vomit brand chili, and then put it back on the shelf at the store. We got good jokes today. Let's see. Reliable news. Reliable news? Pre-bunks. Yeah, pre-bunks. Exactly, dude. Pre-bunks. Now I like country and classics and have a nice car. Getting old's fun. I'm a classic rock guy on the road. That's usually those are the channels I stick around. And when I say classic rock, I'm not talking about 90s. Maybe you'll get some 90s in there, but I'm talking about CCR, talking about The Who, talking about the Rolling Stones, some Beatles in there. I love that stuff. We're about to tell a blatant, obvious lie. Here's why it's not a lie. Exactly. How are we supposed to know what to think if they don't tell us? You expect us to read and discern for ourselves? Let's see. Oligarch Ghoul versus Oligarch Zombie 2024. Twitter equals the CIA. A bot Twitter. Pre-bunk should read double plus unsub at Mini True by Ord BB. Okay, then. No censorship. Anything else makes one faction too powerful. So sick of the censorship. Don't worry, guys. O'Brien seems cool. Maybe he will help us. I found a censorship. They have that floating on a censorship in the new Chili Pepper song. I've heard that. Pre-bunk sounds straight up like some bunk shiz in itself. Anyone got a dope zucchini bread recipe? People are so stupid now, they have to be spoken to like a child, I guess. Blue check scab is oligarch certified. You got some zucchini and bread with some dope in it. Booyah! Jason, where were you on January 6, 2021? I'm asking for a friend. I was in D.C. on the second level. Well, first I was at the speech. I didn't go into the barrier, okay? In fact, I was at the Ellipse. There's film there. I even was able to live stream as I went up to the Capitol. I went up to the second level of the Capitol and covered it there and have released all the footage. That's where I was at. Why the hell does anyone even use Twitter? I like the butter recipe. Nice. Just salute it with the butter. We're talking about recipes here. Oh, it's a big deal. Let's see. People are, not going to read that. Pharaoh approved clowning. I actually gathered curly dock seeds. You guys. You know what? That's it. We're going to stop it there. You guys have fun with the delicious zucchini. We're going to end the stream. We read the whole thing. Again, I want to remind everybody, I'm a documentary filmmaker. The playlist is right here. Shade the Motion Picture, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, Fabled Enemies, and Loose Change Final Cut. Okay, I want you to watch them. I want you to share them. They're 100% free. If you can, consider Rockfin, $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. You then get great creators and their premium content like Whitney Webb, Ryan from T-Lab, Derek Bros, The Conscious Resistance, and so many more. Jay Dyer. If you subscribe here, then you get everybody else's premium content. And, of course, we're rumbling. We're trying to grow on Rumble. We got 8,000 plus. If you're over on YouTube and you also go to Rumble, can we get it to 10,000, please? Can we get to 10,000 subscribers over at the Rumble? Again, where we're uncensored and we don't have to bite our tongue in any respect. So I love you. Thanks for joining me. Let's get past the censorship, and let's not let Twitter decide what we can and can't talk about via our elections. See you on the flip.